Bilam, he goes to curse Klal Yisrael. Balak invited him, and he's trying to take care of the people of Moab, and Klal Yisrael is becoming a threat. Even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe that he shouldn't go to war with Moab. But something within them was restless. Balak didn't feel safe. And so they called Bilam. Bilam is this master magician. He has access to all the spiritual realms. He understands how life takes place. He understands which buttons to push. And they say, why don't you come and make these people disappear? You're a master, you know how things go. And so he tries. So it seems it was a reasonable request. This is something that he was qualified to do. So much so that we needed intervention from the master of the universe. We needed HaKadosh Baruch Hu to change the words in his mouth in order for the spell that he was trying to cast not to be harmful to Klal Yisrael. And Chazal say from the blessings that he was telling, you can see what was really in his heart to say, meaning that the words that he desired to say negatively, those exact words, those exact concepts, turned the other direction and turned in favor of Klal Yisrael. So, from the blessing that he gave, you can know what was in his heart. You can know what he had in mind to say, the exact opposite. And so, these stories are stories that take place in life. There's always stories. Stories never end. This one is trying to outsmart that one, and that one's trying to outsmart this one. This one won, and now he's happy. The other one won the other time, and now this one is sad, and now the other one is happy, and now it goes like that. This is life. Things are constantly happening. But between the things that are happening, there's a theme. And the people experiencing life, they can't tell the theme. The people experiencing life, they don't understand what is it that we're aiming for over here? Where are we headed? What's being protected over here? So in the Torah, we're looking in hindsight. Moshe is writing stories after they happened. And we're saying, the prophets are pointing out, what was the theme? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a plan for Klal Yisrael. And now everything that's going to happen is based on this plan. There's a destiny here, there's a purpose. So when stories happen, they're playing out based on our internal thoughts, our internal feelings, stuff that we create. And so we would think that the interaction between all these thoughts, the interaction between all these feelings is random. It can't make any sense because each individual came up with it on their own. So you just put all that together, you got a big chunk that makes no sense. And yet, there's an intelligence that's driving each individual one, what he's creating. He's not creating randomly. He's creating based on chemicals. He's creating based on a formula. And so this formula has the intelligence to interact with others. This formula can create in others. This formula is alive. This formula has been kept alive for thousands of years, generation to generation. And that collective soul, that collective formula that humanity has created for themselves, that is what guides them forward. That is what takes them to where they need to go. And so as we make our decisions, this all becomes part of that formula. It all becomes part of that information that led to the specific point we're in, even to this very moment. And so Balak, he has a drive. He has something that is telling him that he's not happy with the fact that Klal Yisrael are passing through. Something is bothering him. Says Reb Tzodok, what's bothering Balak? Inside of him, inside of his DNA, there's already a preparation for a woman called Ruth. Ruth comes out of Balak. And therefore, he doesn't feel right when he sees Klal Yisrael. He feels provoked by them. He feels uneasy. Because the person coming out of him, the person coming out of his genes, is going to forsake his way of life and is going to go towards Klal Yisrael. And what is she going to bring into Klal Yisrael? David HaMelech. And so Balak, something inside of Balak knows, he can't tell, right? He's just having urges. He's explaining himself rationally. That's because of this and it's because of that. But truly, Klal Yisrael's not after him. Nobody was after him. He's just paranoid. Why is he paranoid? Because something inside of him knows what he can't know. Something inside of him knows something that cannot be expressed in words at that point. It didn't yet happen. And so we see how history plays people like puppets. But where is the puppet master? The puppet master is not behind us. The puppet master is ahead of us. The puppet master is our future. Our future is taking us to become that, because that's what we're going to be. There's nothing you can do to help that. And so Klal Yisrael is Nifchar, it's the Amma Nifchar. Why are they the Amma Nifchar? Because of the future. Who made them the Amma Nifchar? The future made them the Amma Nifchar, not the past. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu choose Abraham? Because of his grandchildren. Things that didn't happen yet. So we're experiencing from the past going to the future. But life wasn't designed from the past going to the future. Life was designed from the future going to the past. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a machshava before he created life, a ripple through the infinite consciousness that said something in the potential looks very attractive. And that thought is what gave rise to the infinite manifesting itself in a reality where it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and becomes more and more complex until it's going to reach the level of complexity that's required to fulfill that thought. So who is guiding us? That thought is guiding us. Not the thought that was had, the thought that's in the middle of being manifested. The future you is making you be the way that you are now. Not the past you. The past you is the obstacle that's trying to hold on to you, that you don't become the future. But the future you is really why you were designed the way that you were designed, not the past you. And so Balak, he feels a drive, he feels an impulse, and he rationalizes. He's afraid of these people. He doesn't know what they'll do. Hine am yotzim Mitzrayim, they're coming, they're after me, things are going to happen. And so he says, you come, and you cast a spell on them, make them go away. And you see the power that these people knew was available. They understood that a human being can enter the collective and change the settings of what's going to happen on this planet. That's the reality. That's what a human being is. That's what we all are if we knew how to be ourselves. We're no different. We have the same body, mind, spirit. We have all the parts. We just don't know how to put them together. We don't know how to develop them appropriately. A human being can affect the destiny of humanity. And so they call him. And then what does he say? He says the most beautiful things about Klal Yisrael that even Moshe Rabbeinu never said. And that's because Moshe Rabbeinu was here to train us. Moshe Rabbeinu was not here to flatter us. Moshe Rabbeinu was not trying to make us feel nice in a way that's detrimental. Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to give us the strength to go through what we had to go through to get to that promised land, to get to that place where we want to go. But Bilam, he wasn't looking to make them strong. In fact, Chazal say he was looking to make them weak. And that's why afterwards they fell. And so he told them only nice things. He told them how good they are, how well they're doing, how it doesn't matter whatever they do, they're never going to mess up. It's not possible because it was designed this way. And then what happened? They messed up. They made the way longer. And so Bilam comes to Klal Yisrael and he exposes them for what they are. He says HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that you are the destiny of man. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot see evil in you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always wants to make up with you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always wants your friendship. It's not possible for you to do anything where HaKadosh Baruch Hu would suddenly say, okay, with you I don't want a relationship. It's not possible. He doesn't see it. Why doesn't he see it? Because this one has to succeed. He doesn't have a choice. What is he going to do? He's going to say, okay, we're enough with humanity, we'll go to the monkeys. Everything has been invested that humanity has to succeed. It has to succeed. Whatever the case is, as horrible as we might be doing, it has to succeed because it was created, because it has a purpose, because the one who can create this wouldn't create for nothing. And so he told them the end. He told them the end of the story. He told them what's going to be thousands of years later. And so, for us, this is exactly the message that we need. This is exactly our message. Now, thousands of years later, this is why the message was placed in the Torah. Not only was it placed in the Torah, Chazal said that this message should have been read in Kriyas Shema. Every day, when we recite Kriyas Shema, we should have been saying the Parsha of Bilam also. But they didn't do it, Mishum Tercha de Tzibur, it would be too much. Or the deeper meaning is that not everybody is ready for the message. Not everybody is at such a level, so broken already, that this is the thing that they must hear or they won't make it. And so, for us, this is the message. That's exactly where we are. If we're lucky, then we can still hear this message. Most of us are already so broken that even this message can't penetrate. But if we're lucky, we can still hear this message. That it's not possible for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to turn his back on us. It's not possible. It can't happen. Because he has nobody else. He doesn't have a choice. He's stuck with us. He put in all this work, and here we are. This is what he has to deal with. He's going to have to make it work. He's going to have to figure it out. It's on him. And so this Parsha of Bilam is the Parsha that teaches us about our future. And this future is what's creating us now. This future is what gives us the power to go through thousands of years of suffering and still be here and tell the tale. And maybe even crack a fake smile sometimes. It's only because we knew our future that we can do this for so long. If we didn't know our future, we wouldn't be here anymore. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu should show us that future, so we can all experience it together soon. Did
we hear, like, when Bilam went on to the mountaintop and he said what he said?
Oh, how we know it?
No, like, did we hear him say it? Like,
no.
How did we fall? Like, did we hear it, or just from him speaking it, like, had an effect?
His speaking makes people think. Obviously, he was that kind of guy that knew how to speak. And it was prophecy, which means that this became a reality in the whole collective. So it became revealed. Once it's revealed, then that becomes the basis of experience.
We heard it, though?
Not physically. But Moshe Rabbeinu heard it in prophecy because he wrote it down. But the Klal Yisrael didn't hear it.
So it was just prophecy. It wasn't really like, or was it him saying it that it, like, the words, like, hit us?
It changes the spirit. Not only his words, also my words and your words. That's the nature of it. Those who hear you directly, their spirit changes immediately. But even those who didn't hear you, something changed in the collective. And there's that relationship between the micro nefesh and the macro nefesh. The big soul, the collective soul, and the individual soul. So everything is receiving from everything. Everything is connected to the whole. And so we all influence the whole.
So you see how words are so powerful, like, even if you don't hear it.
No
like,
question.
The power.
No question.
It's like shooting arrows.
You see, it's like he was about to create a spell that was supposed to wipe off a nation from the face of the planet. And that was a serious threat. So it means it's real.
So how does a person have so much power?
Why did Hashem create us with so much power? That's something that our minds can't yet understand, because we don't really deserve that power yet. When we'll deserve it, then we'll know. We'll know what to do with it, and it'll make sense. But now we're hurting each other with that power, so that's why it really doesn't make sense that we have it. It's almost not right. What prayers or exercises would you recommend to strengthen the spirit in order for the illusions or the toxins not to enter? So everything that will help a person calm down and be more centered in their body and their mind can be useful. For each individual, depending on their level of development, it will be a different level of stimulation necessary in order to calm them down. So in the beginning, it might be more powerful things like exercise and music that can make a change in how we feel. And as we become more calm, then it could be simply sitting down and closing our eyes and just being with ourselves for a few minutes that can give us the necessary insight so that we can return to calm, so that we can return to ourselves. It also depends on the events that are taking place in our life. So the more the circumstances and the way we are used to interpreting them are causing big shifts in our chemicals, are causing us distress. So then we need more activities to calm ourselves down. We need to invest more attention into how we're feeling internally, so that we don't create scenarios in our mind that are harmful to us, that make us feel unsafe in this reality. And so there's various levels of sensitivity, obviously. So for example, somebody who's watching news is right away going into thought patterns, into realities that are extremely painful for the spirit. So for some people, that could be the beginning. That could be enough to shift their focus. It's just by finding stimulation that's positive, that doesn't create negative realities. Even if they're real in the outside world, they're not real to the individual. And so to that individual, by becoming aware of these realities, it paints his imagination, it paints the way that he sees life. And then that's when the stress begins. Is that, oh, I live in such a type of world, this is what's taking place in this world, and then we visualize ourselves in the story. That's just the nature of who we are. So staying away from these stories, staying away from these plots, makes the spirit, if the spirit is conscious, if it has desire to, more available to seeing life in a positive light, to seeing people as kind, to realizing that whatever is happening in this world that's wrong is because people have not been kind. People have not been smart about how to live their lives. People have not understood how to create a better environment. People have been traumatizing each other. So we want to make a commitment to being that change, to being that difference, to creating that good that the world deserves, so that the future can have a better world. So once we make that commitment, we remain conscious of what's happening inside of us. And when we see ourselves going off, then we try not to interact, not to induce these feelings into other people. And this is how we can create a safer environment. We can create more calm and less drama. And that helps the spirit realize itself. That helps the spirit desire life, and it helps it gain intelligence. So any work that helps a person calm down, any work that helps a person reduce anger, because the underlying cause of all psychological suffering is anger. So all kinds of trauma, it's not really the trauma that's causing the later damage, it's the response, it's the psychological response, which is underlying everything is a form of anger, and that becomes fear and it becomes sadness, because then we want to control the environment. We want to make sure we never get hurt again, and all these things are not possible. As soon as we're trying to control the environment, we're already hurting ourselves. So the only place not to get hurt is when you have nothing that you're trying to control, and then you're not getting hurt. Then life is just happening and you can be there and enjoy it. So anything that removes anger, anything that removes frustration, a hidden rage from our system, is all going to bring us to a place where we can start imagining life as good. And that's the key. That's the key to our body and our mind's healing, is that we can imagine life as good, because life is good if we make it so. Life is hell if we make it so. So we want to see the goodness in life. We want to create that goodness in life so that we can try to live in that goodness as much as we can. As much as life will try to pull us out of that goodness, we'll pull back and try to go as far as we can into that goodness, until that's all there is, until everybody is so deep into the goodness that nothing else exists. So all these practices, whatever it is, and the meditation is the most direct practice, where a person focuses on the mind and tries to calm it and bring it to silence. So that will help reduce anger, and it will help the spirit find peace. And then it can do whatever it wants, and obviously it only wants joy. So it'll just turn on all the joy once it has access to itself. Yeah, so those are the practices that can help you realize the true nature of life and not get you lost in the illusions. In a healthy world, the future you leads you, because the future you is the one that was designed to be born into this world. The past you is the mistake that happened on the way, because humanity wasn't really ready to receive you. So now we have the past you that's blocking you from becoming the future you, and that's the struggle. So you were created to be the future you. The future you is the clean you, the you that's going to realize itself as spirit and going to know how to use the body and going to know how to interact with others. That's the real you. That's the only you that was ever created. But then as we come out into a hostile environment and we get attacked and we get pointed fingers at and we create an ego to protect ourselves, and then we're stuck in that prison, which is the past you. So the future you is the perfect human. It's the human that you were designed to be. It's the human that you were right before you were born, while you still knew the whole Torah, because the angel taught you. So that's the future you. And then it comes into a hostile environment and it doesn't know how to protect itself, and it becomes a you that's trying to protect itself constantly. Why is it trying to protect itself constantly? Because it's stuck in the past. Because the past gave you an impression of life that doesn't suit the future you. The future you would never want to live in such a world. So that illusion, that reaction to life, thinking that, oh, look what the Creator created, this is the world that He likes, with Him it's going to be hard to get along. So now life is already not clean. The future you is not available. So what we want to try to become, as soon as we might be able to, is that clean version of ourselves that doesn't have a past, that's simply available, that uses all the intelligence of the past, but none of the trauma, is not offended by what took place in the past. And that you is the one that can react best to your life. That you can paint realities that are the most aligned with the nature of your spirit. The nature of your spirit is bliss. The nature of your spirit is to be united with the Creator in infinite bliss. So the more the spirit is available and knows itself, the more it can create realities in the mind and in the heart that are similar to that nature, that are reconciling with your natural vibration. And that's where you find peace, that's where you find comfort, that's where there's no threat, because really there is no threat. So all the events that could possibly happen to you in the future are not a threat to you now. Threats are thoughts. And thoughts shouldn't be threats because we are thinking. So who is threatening who? So this realization allows us to become our future self, to unshackle us from all the different events that took place in the past, so that we can see life for what it really is, so that we can participate, at least for one moment, in this very real, this very infinite experience. You know, once we're going to have the tools to process what's taking place, we're going to realize the realness of it, we're going to realize the magnitude. So we want to at least participate for one moment, we want to be able to say a couple of words to the Creator from that place of truth, from a place of realization. It's not tainted by our personal experience as we went through the dysfunctionality of society today. You have a question?
The suffering
yes.
that has taken place since the time of the Midbar until today, was suffering that began from when the Galus started, and that
everything goes back to Adam Rishon. Everything goes back to Adam Rishon, but our suffering goes back directly to Mitzrayim. Klal Yisrael started suffering in Mitzrayim, and that Galus never went out of them. So they stayed, the Galus mind continued all the way till this day. So we're still looking for a way out of that Mitzrayim. And that's why we need the Torah. That's why from Yetzias Mitzrayim we have a record of everything that happened, all the traumas, everything that went wrong, and every reason for why we didn't realize our true nature, so that we can try to undo this damage, so we can try to realize the true path of how we went off, of what took place over here. And so the Torah is documenting that to us live, because that spiritual reality is what's holding us back from becoming our future. That's the past collectively that we're sort of, just like individually we have all these traumas and misconceptions that we have to go to war with, so spiritually we also have a collective trauma, we also have a collective history that we have to deal with. Because the collective spirit is way off track, is way off into illusion, and it's not based on reality any longer. So we have to undo that also, we have to reconcile that as well. And that's why the Torah keeps track of all the history.
How would you elevate that in the moment?
Because once it affects consciousness, it means it affected your experience right now. So something that happens in the spiritual realm doesn't leave, it stays. So let's say a father has a certain way of seeing life, and then he passes that on to the son. So the son doesn't even know he sees life like that. He never saw life from any other place. But it's in there inherently in his vision that he sees life like that. He reacts to life like that. So this happens in a very deep way on the collective level. That we're born into a world where they emphasize different things in life that cause us to develop areas in our brain that are anecdotal, that are not really in line with what should be developed more and what should be developed first and what should be placed priority on. All these things are random based on mistakes that were made throughout history. And so now we're incorporated into that reality, and even though we don't really know what we're missing is stimulation in areas of the brain that would have given us a much more balanced experience, that would have allowed us to realize different facets of reality that would make life much more worth living. So we're missing a lot by the mistakes of the past.